density function of xy, how to find out the density function of z, right? So this one we start with what? The cumulative distribution function, which is probability of z less than or equal to z here. Right? I replaced z with what? X plus y is less than or equal to z, lowercase z, right? So you have the random variable x and then y here, and this is x plus y equal to z equation, right? You are some constant, right? X plus y equal to some constant, isn't it? So I need this probability associated with that, probability of x plus y less than or equal to z. So you are trying to find out the range for x and y such that x plus y is what? Less than or equal to z. That is what you are looking for, right? So what I can do, see, we can use the other way of using what? Jacobian technique, right? In that case, what we have to do, we can introduce something like a dummy variable, right, like w equal to x, and then do the Jacobian and find out the joint density function of zw, and then go for the marginal density function. That is one approach, right? So that I leave it. So today I am going to do it in another form, right, using this graph, right? So here we are going to use this strip here. We are trying to find out what is the range for x and y which satisfies this condition, right? X plus y less than or equal to z. So this is basically, you have double integral, we are doing x plus y dx dy here, but we need the limit for x as well as what? Y. So as far as this x is considered, as I have taken this horizontal strip, it starts with what? Minus infinity, and x is equal to what? Z minus y, right? So that is for x here. So let me write it as here, minus infinity to y, I mean z minus y. And if I see this y range, right, it starts with where? Minus infinity all the way up to infinity. So we have here minus infinity plus infinity. This is the limit for x and this is the limit for y, because this strip needs to go here, right? So we are talking about this region, this shaded region, right, in which I am trying to find out what? X and y region to find out this probability. As you already know, the probability associated with, right, the region, right, in connection with this random variable z, you have to look for the region x and y, right, that satisfies that condition, and you have the probability associated with that region is same as that of the probability associated with that region what you found with what? The random variable z. So they are equivalent. But now the question is how to find out the density function. So you have this distribution function f z of z, and this is what we got, right? Now we need f z of z. This is obtained just by what? Differentiating, right, on both sides with respect to this z, right? So that's what we need to do. But here we have integration, and even in that limit I have what? The variable z. Then we have to go for what we call it as Leibniz integration. I don't know how many of you are aware of that. So we need to go for what? The Leibniz integration. So here this is, after taking this integration over x, it is going to be that function of z and y alone, right? So let me write that as g of what? Z comma y and then dy. If I do that, then finally it is going to end up with what? A function of z. This is what we are doing, right? So now if I take this differentiation of right, on both sides with respect to z, that is what we need to do. Here this limit is finite limit, minus infinity to plus infinity. So straight away I can bring this differentiation inside this, right? So if I differentiate on both sides, so I can bring here like this, and I need to find out this. But the point is how to find out g of what? Z comma y. So this g of z comma y is again the integration from minus infinity to z minus y fxy into dx. So whenever you have this differentiation of the integration with the limit that has a variable, we have to go for the Leibniz integration. It means that you differentiate this upper limit with respect to this z, right, z minus y, right, and then you have to substitute. See here this integration with respect to what? X. So you have to look for that variable x, and that x you have to replace with the upper limit value, that is going to be fxy of, in place of x you have to substitute what? Z minus y comma y, right, minus you have to take this differentiation of what? The lower limit. Formally I will do that because anyhow it is going to be constant, it is going to be 0 only, but just for make you clear, right, this is going to be 0 anyhow, the second term, whatever the term you have here, it is going to be 0, right, and we have the third term, right, first term differentiating this upper limit and substitute that variable x with that upper limit, minus differentiating this lower limit and substitute the value x with the lower limit. But the second term anyhow it is going to be 0. We have the third term. The third term we have this integration. You bring this what? The differentiation inside this integration, right? Like this, x comma y. In fact, this is also going to be 0 because you have the function of x and y and you are differentiating with respect to what? Z. And this is also going to be your 0. So you have, this is the final thing, and this is going to be what? 1 here. So this ends up with fxy of z minus y, y. I replace this one here to get that final result, right? So here it is fxy of z minus y, y dy. This is very interesting result. Fz of z, if z is equal to x plus y, fz of z is given by integral minus infinity to plus infinity fxy of what? Z minus y comma y dy. And more interestingly, if this x and y are independent, if x and y are independent, I can write this integration as fx of what? Z minus y, fy of y dy. Do you see any interesting pattern in this formula? It is the convolution. It's a very interesting result, right? So if I have z equal to x plus y, and if the x and y are independent, the density function fz of z happens to be the convolution of x and y. Two functions you have, right? Fx and fy. The convolution of these two density function will end up with what? Fz of z. For instance, suppose that if I have the density function of x which is of uniform distributed 0 to 1 here, so like this, and again assuming that the density function of y is also uniformly distributed, this is 1 here, this is 1 here, right? Then fz of z, if you want to know, it is the convolution of these two. To perform this convolution, we know that you flip it and do correlation. If I do that, it starts with 0 and gradually it what? Increases up to the point 1, and then finally it decreases. You get the shape of triangle, right? So you get like this. So this is going to be your FZ of Z. I am purposely choosing this result here, this particular example also, to make you understand that when we have two random variable x and y, right, they are independent. Of course, I have chosen it as what? Uniform distributed, and z equal to x plus y is ending up with what? The triangular shape. Suppose that if I have one more, like what? Z equal to p plus q plus r, right? P is uniformly distributed, q is uniformly distributed, and r is also what? Uniformly distributed. In that case, what is happening? You need to do what? Of course, I am saying that they are independent. So you need to do what? The convolution of, right, the uniform distribution associated with the random variable p with q with r. It means that the triangle, once again you need to do what? The convolution with the uniform distribution. If I do that, if I keep on doing that, the shape is going to be like this only. I mean, it goes up and comes down, but you get the orders increased, right? Roughly, if I have more number of random variables, if you sum up all those things, it looks like what? The Gaussian. I'm not saying any proof here, I'm just saying the statement, right? So that is also the intuition behind, why when we add many random variables, right, sum together ends up with what? Gaussian density function. We have a formal proof, that is different, but this is just the intuition. I mean, we can have an intuitive idea why that is becoming Gaussian, right? So even just by adding two random variables, it is becoming a triangle. And still, if I add one more, you add higher orders, and it leads to what? That Gaussian. This is very interesting result. That's what I thought of doing this. That is one. Number two, one more example we do today. And so far, whatever we discussed, these are of, the relationships are what? The linear and non-linear, of course, y equal to x square and all, right? So it is like that, where we were able to find out this Jacobian and all, right? Where we can what? Differentiate, right? All those things we are able to do. But there are cases, the functions which we may not able to what? Differentiate and get the Jacobian type and solve. Like the following, right? We'll take it as p equal to min of x comma y, and q is max of x comma y. This is the example. We can't really differentiate, right? You have a random variable x and y, but we need the density function for what? P and q. Fpq of p and q needs to be related with what? Fxy of x comma y, right? So for these cases, it is better to go for the graphical approach, like what we did, little earlier. Instead of going for the Jacobian, you go for, right, the shades by fixing it up some range for two random variable and find out the corresponding range for the another two random variable. Like that you have to go, right? For example, let us take this as Fpq of PQ is basically probability of what? P less than or equal to lowercase p, Q less than or equal to lowercase q, right? This is what we want. This is some value, right? P and Q are there, right? Which is going to be greater, P or Q? P is what? Min of x and y. See, you have the outcome of the random variable as what? X and y, and I am finding out whichever is minimum. That I am assigning to P, whatever is maximum, that I assign to what? Q. Obviously, in all the cases, what will happen? Q is going to be what? Greater. Right? Suppose if I want to know about this density function where Q is lesser than P, it is not going to occur any time. So that density function, straight away it is 0. Right? So we have two cases here. Case 1, when P is what? Greater than Q. If P is greater than Q, straight away I can write what? FPQ of P comma Q is what? P is greater than Q I am writing, which is not going to occur. It means that its value is going to be 0. Straight away I can write like this. But this case 2, when P is less than Q, yes, it occurs. It is going to be there, right? P is less than Q is going to be there. Then I look for the range of X and Y. What makes you to get this? Right? Sometimes, see, we don't know the value of X and Y. Right? And this maximum is coming because Y is maximum some case. The maximum is coming because sometimes X is maximum. It is coming from both X as well as what? Y. Isn't it? So that's what I said. You go for the graphical approach, right? I have to look for the random variable X and Y, and then I construct the region. No, this is square boxes. Here we call this as what? Which is lesser? P, right? So I call this as P comma P, and this is Q comma Q. Because X also takes that value up to Q. Y also can take the value up to Q. Right? Isn't it? So I have taken, this is what we are interested, region of interest. Right? Because I am interested in what? P less than or equal to P, Q less than or equal to Q. Right? So the maximum is what? Q. I am interested in the range with the maximum limit as what? Q. So this is what I am interested on. Now what I do, I look for, right, the range or the region here which describes the range given by this. When this will occur, that is my question, right? P less than or equal to P, Q less than or equal to Q, when it occurs. One case when X is what? Less than or equal to Q, in that case your Y is less than or equal to P. One case. The another case, what? X less than or equal to P, Y less than or equal to what? Q. Because I said that this P is coming either from where? X or Y. If this X is less than or equal to Q, right, your Y, you are supposed to have what? Less than or equal to P, because I need what? Min also, isn't it? So if I see these shades, one case what will happen? So this is one range, right? In this case X is less than or equal to Q, Y is less than or equal to P, isn't it? So the another case we have here like this. In this case what is happening? Y less than or equal to Q, X less than or equal to P. But here when I computing or obtaining this range, we understand that this range we have collected twice, that we need to remove, right? So what we do here is, instead of writing, we have to go for the distribution function like this. FPQ of P comma Q is basically what? The probability of X less than or equal to Q and y less than or equal to p, yes, this is one range, and you have one more, right? Probability of x less than or equal to p and what? Y less than or equal to q. It is not yet over. We need to go for the third term where you would like to subtract this common range, common region, which is basically probability of x less than or equal to p, comma y less than or equal to p again, because p is minimum, right? So we need to subtract that. So that's what I said, you look for the range, whatever the range you get it for p and q, you look for the range for what? X and y that satisfies this. Then straight away you can write this expression. So if I write this one in a cumulative form, this is fxy of q comma p, and this is what? Fxy of p comma q, and this is fxy of p comma p, right? And this is fpq of p comma q, right? And remember that this is true for the case 2 when p is less than q, right? If p is greater than q, straight away the value is going to be what? 0, right? So if I want to know about this density function fpq of pq, we write it as what? Fxy of q comma p plus what? Fxy of p comma q minus fxy of p comma p. This is another example where we cannot go for what? The Jacobian, right? So we do this one using what? The geometrical method. Okay, so we'll do one more example. So what we are discussing is all about what? The change of random variable, right? Last class we discussed, right? Remember that r equal to root of what? X square plus y square, right? And of course theta is there, but anyhow r equal to root of x square plus y square if x and y are what? Gaussian, right? Your r is, what is that? Rayleigh distributed, right? So that is given by what? R by sigma square into e power minus r squared by 2 sigma square. You check, isn't it? For r what? Greater than or equal to 0. This is the Rayleigh distribution, and you know the importance of Rayleigh distribution in what? Telecommunication, right? This is describing the noise, right? We have something called what? The Rayleigh noise, Rayleigh channel model, right? In which the noise is all, about this baseband transmission, in which the noise is also what? Complex, right? Real and imaginary part will be there in that noise, right? And the magnitude, that is square root of the real part square plus the imaginary part. In fact, this real and imaginary part is what we call it as in phase and quadrature component in telecommunication for the baseband transmission, and that is what? The Rayleigh distributed. Tomorrow in fact we are going to discuss, right, that probability of error associated with the Rayleigh model, Richian model and additive Gaussian model. For that this is needed as a basic. I just wanted to do today. Tomorrow we will have a case study full, right? Additive noise, additive Gaussian noise model, and then Rayleigh model, and then Richian model. What is that probability of error, right? That we will discuss tomorrow, right? But now coming back to this is known to us, isn't it? But now the question is, what is that R squared distributed with? R is Rayleigh. I have R square, right? R square is what? X squared plus y square. Square root vanishes. I call this R squared as what? U here. Of course, the method is what? You have to go for the change of random variable using the Jacobian method. One variable conversion, right? U equal to R squared. You look for only this because we already know the distribution of R. Then I can find out what is the distribution of U. Fu of U is what? 1 by Jacobian Fr of R. R in terms of U you have to write, isn't it? Right? So what is the Jacobian? Dou U by dou R is going to be your 2R in this, right? So as I told you, Fu of U is what? 1 by Jacobian, that is 2R here, into this density function whatever we had here, right? So I used here, so it's actually, in fact, if you want you can put it as lowercase uniformly. So this is going to, okay, I'll write it here, R by sigma square here, e power minus R squared by what? 2 sigma square, R get cancelled, right? And you get it as 1 by 2 sigma square e power what? R squared is what? U. So I will write it as U here by 2 sigma square, and this is what your Fu of U. This result is needed for tomorrow's discussion, right? So what is this distribution called? E power minus U by 2 sigma square, and we have here the coefficient, the constant as what? 1 by 2 sigma square. What is this called? This is not Gaussian, because we converted that R squared in the form of what? U, and I am asking you what is that function described by U as a function of U. What is that? If I plot the graph between what? U versus this Fu of U, how it looks like? Exponential, that is right. It is exponential distributed, right? Somebody tell me what is the mean of this? Who is telling? 2 sigma square. Is it so? Calculate. Let us check. Right? But this is exponential distributed, right? So you understand that we have x and y, they are Gaussian distributed. If I take square root of x squared plus y squared, that becomes Rayleigh distributed. If it is R square, which is basically the sum of squares of what? The Gaussian, isn't it? X square plus y square, they are Gaussian distributed. We are squaring them and adding, right? And that distribution happens to be what? Exponential distributed. Interestingly, if you keep on adding this, x squared plus y squared plus z square, individually they are Gaussian, x, y, z, they are Gaussian, right? Of course, we are assuming certain facts, that's very important. See, in this derivation of getting this Rayleigh, we already assumed certain things. What are they? One is we assume this mean of x and mean of y, they are going to be what? 0. We assume that. And we also assume what? They are independent, uncorrelated. That's very important. Always keep in mind, because this expression comes from where? X and y, they are Gaussian with mean 0, variance sigma square, that is not a problem, but mean 0, and they are independent. In case of Gaussian, independent and uncorrelated, they are one and the same. If it is uncorrelated, it is independent. If it is independent, it is uncorrelated. It is true only for Gaussian. For other cases, it differs. You already know that, isn't it? right? We have to make them independent only if they are what? Uncorrelated. Uncorrelated is the first step, then you can make it as what? Independent. Independent is the second stage, right? If I want to make it as independent, you have to make it as first uncorrelated, then you can go for independent. But remember that this expression is coming because of these assumptions. X and y, they are Gaussian with mean 0 and they are independent uncorrelated, right? If that is the case, what we get? Your R, that is equal to what? Square root of x square plus y square, they are Rayleigh distributed, and R square, which is equal to what? X square plus y square, and that is equal to u, I call it as u, and that u is what? Exponentially distributed. And just now I told that if you have x square plus y square plus z square, they individually they are Gaussian with mean 0 and they are independent uncorrelated, then what is that u called? I'm talking about this u. U is x square plus y square plus z square. X is Gaussian with mean 0, variance sigma square. Y is Gaussian with mean 0, variance sigma square, and z is Gaussian with mean 0 and variance sigma square. And then you have a term called u, just like here. Here it is only 2 terms, x square plus y square, but here it is 3 terms. We can even imagine one more, right? Keep on adding that. This is what we call it as chi-square distribution. Chi-square distribution, we have different orders, right? This is of order 3. Chi-square distribution with order 2 is exponential distribution. Chi-square distribution is not symmetric, just like what we had it for the Gaussian, right? For the chi-square distribution, it is not going to be what? Symmetric, right? We have, when you keep on adding this Gaussian, the square of Gaussian, you get chi-square with different orders. This is needed actually for the statistical test, hypothesis test, right? So that is one point I just wanted to tell, right? So this exponential, also comes as the family of what? The chi-square distribution with order 2. As I told you, right? X and y, if they are Gaussian, x square plus y square happens to be what? Exponential distributed. So this comes under that family of chi-square with order 2. You can even have a order 1 that you do, right? Just what? U equal to x square. What is that u? Tell me that, right? Not now. You do it with order 1. So it is a family of this chi-square, right? So now coming back to this, everybody got the result? How do you find out this mean? Expectation of what? The random variable u means what? Integral, right? U, fu of u, right? And what is the range for u? That is very important. In all the cases you have to write the range. I am not writing, I am sorry, actually everywhere I have to write. Here I have written, but here also you have to write what is the range for u. What is the range of u? U takes the value from where? Because it is equal to r square, which is x square plus y square, but x is having minus infinity to plus infinity. That's fine, but x square, the moment x square comes, it becomes what? 0 to infinity, right? So this u is going to have the range only from where? 0 to infinity. So remember that, I am sorry, in fact I am telling this one seriously, that because we need to write this expression with the range. Without that it is not completely described. Fu of u is equal to what? This one, right? 1 by 2 sigma square e power minus u by 2 sigma square for what? U greater than or equal to 0. That's very important. For less than, it is 0 itself, otherwise, right? So now what is that expectation? U into fu of u du, right? So actually you call this 2 sigma square or 1 by 2 sigma square as lambda. So what is that you get here? Lambda e power minus lambda u du, 0 to infinity. This will become 1, right? So here you are multiplying with what? U here, isn't it? This is what expectation of U. This is the mean, right? So how will you find out this? You can go for U here, d of what? E power minus lambda U divided by what? Minus lambda in this, right? Lambda, and you can go for U minus lambda e power minus lambda U, right? Plus 1 by lambda integral e power minus lambda U du 0 to infinity, right? Isn't it? So what will happen to the second term? It becomes e power minus lambda by minus lambda. You get what? Minus 1 by lambda square, and here we have lambda in this, and applying the limit, upper limit, it becomes what? 0, isn't it? Lower limit, it becomes 1. So minus, in fact, right? So you already have a minus, right? So 1 by lambda square, and we have here at what? Lambda, so it becomes what? 1 by lambda. What he said is right, isn't it? So that is, in this case, the lambda what I have chosen it is what? 1 by 2 sigma square. So the mean is going to be what? 1 by lambda. So it is 2 sigma square is that mean. That is right. Right? So you are having this random variable U, which is of what? Exponential distributed. Right? So we'll do a few more, and you know that we have the method of converting the Gaussian data, right, with arbitrary covariance matrix. We discussed, right? So how that is done? That is using what? Y equal to ax plus b. Is it? How they are related? Y equal to what? Ax plus b. I am just recollecting what we discussed yesterday, right? So what is this Cy? Cy is what? A Cx A transpose, isn't it? I can choose the matrix A that makes this Cy diagonal. One way of doing that is using what? The eigen matrix, what I discussed yesterday, but that is not the only way. You can choose any other matrix A, right? If you are able to get this Cy, right, to be what? Diagonal, you are actually achieving that uncorrelation, right? The elements of the vector y, they are made it as what? Uncorrelated. That you are achieving. You can have another, other choices of that matrix also. It's not necessary only this eigen matrix. I am telling this one because it is not really necessary that you have to look for what always is eigen matrix to do it. But eigen matrix is very straightforward. Other things you have to look for the matrix and you have to find out the trick how it can be done. But it is possible to choose other, right, matrix which converts this x to y with the covariance matrix Cy as what? The diagonal. Is it clear? So I think I will stop here, right? We'll wind up this today's class with that final question. Anybody try this histogram specification? Histogram specification, right? So what is that we did in that case? Actually, I just wanted to wind up with that result, right? So you have this x and then y, or I call this as y here and this is z here, right? I told you that this is the image and this is the random variable x, the pixel values here, right? They are all the outcomes of the random variable x, and you have another image. The outcome of the pixels here is, right, is described by the random variable z. Okay, right? So I want this image to look like, right, some other image. Look like means what? The contrast, the brightness, or in roughly speaking you would like to make this histogram of this to look like what? The histogram of Z. To do so, what you do? We know the trick of converting the arbitrary density function to uniform density function. And what is there in the middle I have chosen is of what? Histogram equalization, which we already discussed in the previous class, whose distribution is what? Almost constant. I mean, in case of continuous it is perfect flat. 0 to 1 it is perfect flat, constant, uniform distribution. But we do approximation for what? Discrete case. You already know that how it is done, right? So we do this conversion x to y, and then we do conversion from z to y, right? And then we have a function, right? Y as what? The function of x, and then what? Z as the function of y. So given x, you get y, and then finally end up with what? A new z, right? So if I do this changeover, that pixel conversion, and rearrange them in a matrix, and if you see that image, that is going to have the contrast, brightness, or the histogram that looks like same as that of what? X. Are you getting this point, right? So this is that histogram specification. We will stop here. Next class we are going to discuss about, tomorrow, right, we are going to discuss about additive noise model, right, and probability of error in Rayleigh and Ritchie channel model, right. So that's what I told, this course has a balanced, with the math and the application in what? The telecommunication. That not purely, right, the math course. So how that is applied in, where are all the places in communication engineering we apply those facts. That also it goes along with that course, right. That is the objective of this. Okay, we'll stop here. You can take the attendance. Today I will